Hello horror movie lovers, I'm Trenton and I love movies just like you, obviously. So I watched Alien because Alien Romulus comes out later this year and I want to catch up. I want to rewatch the original because this movie takes place between the first and second movie, so why not rewatch it and do a video on it. My expectations were neutral. For some reason, I couldn't remember this movie to save my life before this most recent viewing. I know I enjoyed the movie in the past, but I just simply couldn't have told you what happened in it prior to this watch. But did the movie meet my expectations? It exceeded them. I really enjoyed this movie. Did I love it? I loved certain aspects of it, but there are also aspects that I wasn't the biggest fan of.
So everyone's entitled to one good scare.
The crew of a commercial spacecraft encounter a deadly life form after investigating a mysterious transmission of unknown origin. The first half of this video will be spoiler free, then the last half will contain spoilers. Don't worry, I will give you a warning before we enter spoiler territory. Now let's start off with the characters. I love their dynamic, but individually I didn't really like them, to be honest. The only character that I could confidently say that I liked was Ripley herself, but her other crewmates, I just didn't really like them by themselves and found them to be a little annoying. The story is great. A bunch of crewmates accidentally letting an unknown life form on their ship that starts to pick them off one by one. Simple but effective. I love the story. I am a fan of science fiction horror that leans more on the horror side. I'm not the most familiar with the Alien franchise. The only ones I've seen are this one and Alien Covenant. When it comes to science fiction in itself as its own subgenre, it's very cool to look at, but when that's all that it has to offer is when I start becoming uninterested. I'm trying to see people get killed and ripped apart by aliens and shit. The writing was decent for the most part, though it has its moments that are very questionable. Some decisions our characters make literally just don't make any sense at all, whether that's just not communicating or not listening, even though they should definitely know how to communicate and listen if they're on a ship in space. It's very frustrating to watch at times, not gonna lie. The cinematography is pretty great, especially for its time. The framing of certain shots, the camera movement, lighting, etc. This movie is perfect in terms of its technical aspects. The effects are amazing, like beyond amazing, especially for its time. The design of the eggs, the face hugger, and the xenomorph itself all look amazing, even though you can definitely tell when it's a guy in a suit at times. Also, the set design of the ship is beyond me. It's so good and so unbelievable that they achieved something like this in the 70s. You can't help but appreciate this movie, its artistry behind the camera, and what it did for film. Like, come on now. The tone isn't lighthearted, but also isn't entirely dark, and that's mainly because of the writing being so questionable at times and kind of ruining some of the more suspenseful moments. I wouldn't consider this a negative though, due to majority of the movie when stuff starts going down to be dark and suspenseful, but there's just a handful of moments that make me feel indecisive about the movie tonally. The pacing is probably the biggest flaw I had with the movie, specifically during the first act and some of the second. Some scenes just go on for way longer than they need to. The movie is already almost 2 hours, and the fact that some scenes felt like they could be trimmed throughout the movie made the runtime feel way longer than it actually was. The life lesson that I learned after watching Alien was that desperate times call for desperate measures. Overall, I enjoyed this movie. Definitely a classic, definitely way ahead of its time, and I had a good time watching it. I'm gonna give Alien an 8 out of 10. We are now entering spoiler territory. If you haven't seen Alien, watch and then come back to the video, or if you simply don't care about spoilers, keep on watching. In this portion of the video, I break down the movie, go more in depth with my likes and dislikes, as well as my favorite scene, favorite kill, and least favorite kill. Again, we are now entering spoiler territory. The commercial space tug Nostromo is returning to Earth with a 7-member crew in stasis. Captain Dallas, Executive Officer Kane, Warrant Officer Ripley, Navigator Lambert, Science Officer Ash, and Engineers Parker and Brett. The ship's computer, Mother, detects a transmission from a nearby moon and awakens the crew. Following company policy to investigate any potential distress signal, they land on the moon where Dallas, Kane, and Lambert investigate the signal's origin. The party discovers that it's from a derelict alien spaceship spaceship. Inside, they find the remains of a large alien with a hole in its torso. Mother deciphers only part of the transmission, which Ripley determines is actually a warning message. Kane discovers a chamber containing hundreds of large eggs. When he touches one, a creature springs out, penetrates his helmet, and attaches itself to his face. Dallas and Lambert carry the unconscious Kane back to the Nostromo. As the acting senior officer, Ripley refuses to let them aboard, citing quarantine regulations, but Ash overrides her decision and lets him inside. The crew returns to space and Ash attempts to remove the creature from Kane's face, but stops when he discovers that its extremely corrosive acidic blood could hurt Kane and potentially damage the ship's hull. It eventually detaches itself and is found dead. Kane awakens with some memory loss but otherwise seems fine. During a final crew meal before returning to stasis, he suddenly chokes and convulses. A small alien creature bursts out of Kane's chest, killing him, and escapes into the ship. After ejecting Kane's body out of an airlock, the crew attempts to locate the creature with tracking devices and kill it. Brett follows the crew's pet cat, Jones, into a landing leg compartment, where the now fully grown alien attacks Brett and disappears with his body. The crew determines the creature must be in the air ducts. Dallas enters the air ducts with a flamethrower, intending to force the monster into an airlock, but it ambushes and seemingly kills him. Lambert implores that they abandon ship and flee in an escape shuttle, but Ripley, now in command, explains it will not support 4 people and insists on continuing Dallas's plan of flushing out the alien. Accessing Mother, Ripley discovers the company has secretly ordered Ash to return with the alien for study and to consider the crew expendable. She confronts Ash, who tries to kill her, but Parker intervenes and clubs Ash, knocking his head loose and revealing him to be an android. The survivors reactivate Ash's head, who confirms the company's orders and states that the creature is unkillable, while expressing his admiration for it and taunting them about their chances for survival. Ripley shuts him down and Parker incinerates him. The remaining crew decides to self-destruct the Nostromo and escape in the shuttle. However, Parker and Lambert are ambushed and killed by the creature while gathering supplies. Ripley initiates the self-destruct sequence but finds the alien blocking her path to the shuttle. She retreats, attempts unsuccessfully to abort the self-destruct, flees back to the shuttle with Jones, and narrowly escapes as the Nostromo explodes. As Ripley prepares for stasis, she discovers that the alien is aboard, having stowed itself into a narrow compartment. She dons a spacesuit and flushes the creature out. It approaches Ripley, but before it can kill her, she opens an airlock door. The alien manages to hang on, but Ripley fires a grappling hook gun to push it out and then fires the engines, blasting it away into deep space. After recording her final log entry, she places Jones and herself into stasis for the trip back to Earth. Then the movie ends. In regards to the 3-act structure and the ending as a whole, I enjoyed it. I thought it all made sense with the characters and how they were setting them up earlier in the film, with Ripley being the one crew member with the most sense, ending up being the only survivor. There's 2 scenes that come to mind when I think of the questionable writing in the movie. The first being the scene in the vents when Dallas wasn't communicating with the crew that he felt its slime or whatever that slimy stuff was on the floor of the vents, even when they were asking if there was any sign of the alien being there. So stupid. The other scene being when Lambert's just standing there with the alien right in front of her as Parker was telling her to move out the way so he could kill the alien, getting both of them killed in the process. So dumb. The character development in the first act dragged. Oh my god. Maybe it could have just been me in the time that I watched the movie, but it felt like forever seeing these people converse and do various tasks around the ship. Also, the scene with Brett looking for the cat drug on for way too long. It felt like a whole 10 to 15 minutes of this guy looking for this cat, the viewer knowing that he's about to die. It was just prolonging the inevitable. The scene could have definitely been trimmed. My favorite scene would have to be the chest burster scene. It's so iconic. I wish I was able to experience this movie for the first time when it was first released in theaters. I want to see how people reacted to it, especially back then due to how out of the blue the entire scene was and how practical and convincing it looked. My least favorite scene would have to be Lambert not moving out the way like Parker was telling her to, getting both of them killed. Gosh, this scene was so damn frustrating. My favorite kill would have to be Kane's, aka the chest burster victim. Again, the scene is so abrupt and out of the blue, plus body horror seems to be getting to me now for some reason. I didn't used to be like this. The fact that it was growing inside him and just randomly decided to burst out of his chest as he was eating, Nasty work, nasty work. My least favorite kill would have to be the mercy kills that Ripley executed. Mercy kills in general tend to not be that special unless it's some crazy shit. In this case, it was Ripley burning them to death with a flamethrower, which is definitely epic, but I feel the other kills were more effective in my opinion. If you did enjoy this video, make sure to like and subscribe for more videos from me, and make sure to hit that notification bell so you'll be notified whenever I post a new video. Alright, horror movie lovers, I'll see y'all in the next one. Peace out.